started at ESPN in 1991. That means he was working there 5 years before I even got there, and I led into a countless amount of Inside the Huddles at SportsCenter. Chris Mortensen, Dick McCann Award winner. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, people. He's here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Mort?
Doing well, Rich. Enjoyed. I actually went to the combine. I missed the previous two combines. For a guy who went. I think my first one I went to was '87. It's actually where I met. Well, there's very few people left around from that time, but it was interesting coming back this year and being able to physically do it. Still in the cancer journey. That's what I call it. It's a journey, and but I'm doing well. Thankful for each day, and looking forward to the draft and obviously free agency and all that's going on in the NFL, which is a significant amount.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at all the trades we've already had that are not official yet, but will become official, and then certainly ready for the free agency, and the draft has always been one of my favorite events.
So let's start off with the Foles of it all. What do you think the market is for him? How interested do you think the Eagles are in trading him? Walk me through the process as we are Friday before the new league year, Mort.
I think this is dangerous territory for Howie Roseman. I think there's an overwhelming sense within the Eagles organization is maybe we ought to say he's not available. But when teams have inquired and even you could say make a loose offer involving a second-round pick, the basic answer was that, hey, we got a first and a fourth for Sam Bradford, and Nick Foles is a Super Bowl MVP, something Sam never did. So our conversation doesn't even start without a first and a fourth, and you can expect more. That's their way of saying we really don't want to trade him. And, oh, by the way, they shouldn't trade him. There's no guarantee Carson Wentz is going to be back in September, and there's also – listen, Carson has said he's going to play the same style of football he's always played, which is pretty, athletic. Some could say reckless, but it's athletic. So, you've got a Super Bowl team kind of in the circle to repeat. Why would you trade Nick Foles? So that's why it would be, if you're listening in your Howie Roseman, you say what you told teams. Really, I expect nobody to meet that price.
So somebody knocks on the door and says, look, Sam Bradford was a 1 and a 4 because Minnesota was desperate. I mean, they had a Super Bowl team ready to go, and their franchise face, their quarterback of their future, has a freak accident in practice, and they had to put Humpty Dumpty back together again last second. We just want to knock on a door for your quarterback. Here's a second-round pick. He says no to that?
That's not the Eagles' problem. Yeah, he says no to that. I mean, listen, they're going to gain extra draft picks. They got the 32nd pick in the draft. That's actually a pretty valuable spot to be at. In other words, there could be some people coming to number 32 at the end of the first night because of the value that pick has, and pick up. I'm not going to say they'd pick up a second-round pick, but they'll pick up some extra picks. They'll probably get something for Vinnie Curry, a defensive lineman. That now is kind of a spare part, but an expensive one with Michael Bennett trade going down. So, no, I mean, I think for Nick Foles, and the desperate part, it's just bottom line is, are you comfortable with Nate Sudfeld being your backup quarterback? And they like Nate, knowing that, say Carson doesn't play the first 3 games, and saying, what if that happens if he gets re-injured late in the year? You're going to say, because we couldn't resist a second-round pick for Nick Foles, we blew a chance at repeating as a Super Bowl champion, or even a chance to make that run. I think it's dangerous, but I have no doubt. Listen, the Arizona Cardinals don't even have a quarterback on the roster, do they? So that's kind of desperation.
Interesting. Chris Mortensen here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's the Cousins of it all? Where do you think Kirk fits into it? I know he tweeted out that he's open to all comers, but the general sense is, why would he go to a spot where he's got to build when there are some more ready-made situations for him? What can you tell me, Mort?
Well, I think that listen, I've always felt the Vikings were probably the favorite. They have enough salary cap space, about $50 million in cap space, which is really more than $50 million. So, and that team, as we know, is ready to make a run. At the same time, the New York Jets could do something what people would say is give him stupid money, and some people and make these sales pitch that we are a lot closer than you think, and the NFC is a lot more competitive conference, which it is, and whereas the AFC is not. So if all of a sudden they're offering Kirk Cousins $33 million guaranteed a year, and they can convince him, persuade him that this is a more competitive team, and you will make it so. Now we got Denver, who doesn't have as much money, but they can argue that you would help us, you'd plug it in, and the Arizona Cardinals, they are going to dispatch once again. I believe Larry Fitzgerald's already done it once, but I think Larry Fitzgerald is also going to get very involved in actively recruiting right there. But I believe I would handicap this as Vikings 1A, Jets 1B, and Broncos third on that list.
Chris Mortensen of ESPN is going to be part of the whole Worldwide Leader Sports Center free agency extravaganza next Wednesday here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, Mort, so what is going on in Seattle? Total rebuild? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, it's a roster rebuild, and I think in a way they've, maybe it's changing chemistry. And by the way, team chemistry I think is an underrated thing, and maybe there's something there, or certainly older players who are getting injuries, and Richard Sherman is among them, obviously. And, we saw the New Orleans Saints do something last year where Sean Payton made over half his coaching staff, people that guys he was close to, and made over a good portion of the roster. And the results were significant. I think Seattle kind of looked at that and said, we're at that point. We need to do the same thing. And in order to try and take the next step, we've seen them make changes we didn't expect on their coaching staff. And now, certainly with the roster, and I think that, we expect Richard Sherman to be released later today. Who knows? There could be another surprise or two from them as we go forward.
And when it all comes down to it with Des Bryant and the Cowboys, how does that play out?
I really think that there is a strong sentiment in the building that something has to happen with his salary. And then there's one person who stands above all, as you know, is Jerry Jones, who has this fondness to basically not let go of the people that he cares about significantly, and that's where Stephen Jones comes in. So
yes,
exactly. So it's really, I think the feeling is he's got to take a pay cut, or that in order for us to continue to build this roster, we've got to get him down in salary, and will Des take it? I think it's a bubble thing, even though Jerry has said he expects him to be there.
Bubble thing meaning it's 50-50? It could go either way?
It's 50-50, could go either way. Does it happen before free agency hit? I don't know, but I do know that I've been told that something has to happen with Des and his contract. Happens with Des.
Well, Des not going to. He doesn't want any part of that. I mean, he doesn't want any part. I don't.
But let me ask you: if he went on the open market, what do we think he's going to get? I don't hear a lot of enthusiasm.
I know he probably would not get what he's getting. I understand that, but he's also just strikes me as a very prideful guy that might sit there and say the reason why his numbers aren't as great as they used to be is not any fault of his.
Correct.
So that would be that one definitely bears in mind. For us to keep an eye on. Is there anything going on with Brees and the Saints we should know about? Because if there's no contract between now and Wednesday, it's possible he hits the open market, right?
Yes, and by the way, he can talk to teams like an unrestricted free agent during the legal. You call it a tampering period, but it's really legal negotiation period now.
Mm-hmm.
But Drew Brees has no desire to hit the open market. I mean, so basically, if you're the agent for Drew Brees, it's Tom Condon.
Yep.
You would love to take Drew out in the open market and go to the Minnesota Vikings and say, how much will you pay Drew? But Drew Brees wants to be a Saint. The Saints want him to be there, and I expect him to be a Saint.
Okay. Last one for you, Mort. When you said you're on a journey here, walk me through it. How are you doing? I mean, how are you able to stay as involved as you are in the NFL and still focus on your health here, Mort?
Well, it's I think maybe I'm taking better care of myself than ever before. But the journey is obviously I went through the throat cancer thing. That's doing well. It metastasized to my lungs. That's not the ideal, but you know what? They're doing wonderful in research, and the drugs I'm taking for the tumors in my lung are responding and stabilized, and you just eat well, you get your sleep, and you wake up and you got today. I mean, listen, our good friend Jim Kelly, are we heartbroken over this? What happened to him?
Yeah.
And that's why. But Jim will tell you the same thing. Even when he was declared cancer-free, I don't think anybody who gets declared cancer-free, I think they understand. You're never cancer-free. It's the journey. But it's for Jim. Really, I'm more focused on Jim than I am me. I'm thankful for today, and I'm doing well.
Mort, you sound great. I got to be honest with you. You sound the same. It's great.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but when people tell me I look good, I always tell them, check your glasses now. So let's be real. Come on.
Hey, Mort, love chatting with you. Miss chatting with you. Great chatting with you. I really appreciate the time.
Rich, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for all you do for everybody, the charities, the St. Jude's thing. We need people like you who are willing to go out there and be a leader in that territory. Thank you.
Yeah, Mort, thank you. You're the best. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
You got it. @Mort Report. And again, check Mort out on the Worldwide Leader. Next Wednesday, they have a Sports Center special. And I'll be on NFL Network at the same time. We're competitors in that regard, but we are colleagues first and foremost.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.